Hello there guys, Sean here, and I will be doing my daily PAX vlog. I might break it into a few parts talking about different games, but I will be doing my vlog talking about the day in just a bit. But first, this is the DayZ developer panel. I have the audio from it. I did not record their faces the whole time, and I just wanted to let you know that the beginning portion they were using the projector to show some of the game, and he was walking around and doing some things, but the majority of it is just them talking, and there is no visual aspect to it other than we were looking at their faces. So I will put an annotation on the screen if you want to skip ahead to where they are no longer using the projector to demonstrate anything, but for the most part you can understand what's going on with the projector without actually seeing it, because he just kind of goes around, picks up cans, and demonstrates how the inventory works. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoy. I hope you're interested. And I'll be talking about DayZ, The Last of Us, Elder Scrolls Online, the Swapper, and more in my daily vlog, or maybe a couple vlogs breaking it up a bit. But yeah, so enjoy, guys.
There's a lot of stuff we want to cover, so I guess we'll start with the introductions. I'm Dean Hall, project leader of DayZ. And this is Matt Lightfoot, who's the production assistant. So we've got a lot we want to cover because we want to sort of pack as much in. The Q&A, which is going to be the bulk of this, is sort of really important to us. We're going to be showing a lot of new stuff here, so we're quite keen to see what questions people have and get some feedback and things like that. So I guess without further ado, I'll rock into the demo. And I'll kind of talk you through it. So this is the standalone at the moment. It's the current development build, so there's plenty that's sort of broken with it. One thing that we've been doing, those who are familiar with Arma 3 will know that the team on Arma 3 did a lot of work with the controls. And what we did is we borrowed a couple of the developers from Arma 3 and assigned them to our project and asked them, what would you do if you could do anything with the game? So we've been looking at things like the tactical pace and things like that, so that you can actually go around. You'll notice that the weapon is currently pointed not at someone. So one idea we're playing with, and we're not set on it yet, is that you actually have to hold down a key to aim. So we're currently developing two systems. One of the systems is exactly how Arma 3 operates, with some different tweaks and improvements, and the other is this system, which forces you to hold down a key. The reason this is our currently favoured system is because we believe it will help prevent the sort of kill on sight mentality and things like that. So that's why this is kind of our favourite at the moment. And we've removed things like negative mouse acceleration and all that kind of stuff. So we're really committed to improving the controls, and there's been a lot of work done with that now. The next thing I wanted to show was a lot of the work we've done with the inventory system. This is one of the areas that we spent most time on. I have to add a strong caveat now, which is we haven't had an art pass done on this yet. So are there any programmers out there in the audience? Yeah. Okay, so this is what art would look like in a game if you let programmers do all the art. So
I approve.
It's going to be a little bit hard to see. I'll try and talk you through this at the moment. So what you're seeing on the left side, the beautiful aqua blue box, that is what's on the ground. So actually it's probably more relevant if I come over to the back of the car here. So you can see the items around. Maybe we don't need artists to do that. Let's save a few dollars. So Jurka is one of our programmers in the Czech Republic. Now, Jurka is a huge fan of online RPGs and stuff like that. He plays a lot of Lord of the Rings online. So he's been doing a massive amount of work on this. So you won't be able to see it because of the contrast, but when that little box turns green, it actually expands below it, and you can see little items. So I'm going to put some items in the shirt that's on the ground there so that you can see me fill it up. So So you can see I can like open and close it there. Now, this little green panel, these little green panels here, these are only temporary, they'll disappear. We actually want to have it so that you actually drag and drop off your character's avatar, but that's, we haven't currently got that working. So at the moment, we've got those little boxes. So I can drag that off, and I can actually drag the shirt on, and then all my items are in here. And then I'm going to have a drink. The artwork was me. And I'll just, and so I can see what was on my hoodie here before. Same deal, so I can put my motorbike helmet on. I am ready. Unfortunately, this red check shirt, because the spawn's all random, so unfortunately this is one model that doesn't have an on-ground model, so we're just going to walk away from that. So. You guys will, and actually I still have, I didn't pick up the hoodie. Oh man, like demonstration fail. Where are we? Hoodie. Okay, so I'll put the hoodie on, there we go. You'll see when I had a drink, I left behind a trash item. You can see it on the ground there beside the shirt that I don't want to show you. Bugger it. What happens, right? So we want to have some little connections to the world so that you can actually go around and check on items and that. So if we look inside the hoodie here, I've found a defibrillator, but I'm a bit worried that it might be infected. So this is a very basic demonstration of what we're looking at doing with the crafting system. So the idea is, actually I forgot this, I can't do it on that. So I will find a can of beans. I've only configured one thing here. Can of beans. Let's see if I can find a can of beans. The one time, we had one job then, one job. Okay, so we've got some beans there and some more disinfectant. I might be able to disinfect it. So let's say I want to disinfect that. I can actually drag over, you can see things I can't interact with. If I can interact, it goes orange. We're actually going to make the 3D model color change, so this is all quite just work in progress. It brings up a context menu, and I can I can craft it. So the idea for anyone who's played Space Station 13, we're going for that kind of level of crafting. So if I have a look around some of these buildings, hopefully I might find some more stuff. I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to put on a beige baseball cap. So, pretty cool. So let's go inside this building and see what we can find. Wow, I didn't die. That's like a miracle. Progress right there. So I'm looking around here. I'm just going to go in first person because that's how you should play, right? Oh, look at that. There's a can of something. So we're avoiding CanGate, for all those familiar with CanGate. And so we're choosing like tuna Russian brands for this stuff. So I guess another thing I'll quickly cover off on is the quick action bar here. So I can put my weapon away if I just push the 1 key, and I can bring it back. So we wanted to give a lot more customization. So if I remove that, how do I do that? Yeah, like that. And then put it on this key. I can then push 5, puts the weapon away, run around, do my thing, and then push it out. So it's adding, a lot more customization. We want people to be able to do, change things and do the things they want. So let's open this door, and I'm sure there's something there. Oh, a floating can. Look at that. I swear I didn't do this before. Yeah, so a lot of it is going to be exploring the environments, looking around and trying to see if you can find stuff, and that's really a significant part of what we want to do. Have people actually scavenging for stuff. So the inventory system's been quite heavily inspired by XCOM. You can see this black hoodie at the moment has six slots for stuff. So I'm just going to put my defibrillator on the ground here. So it's the idea, if you have the weapon, it takes up a certain amount of slots, and you're not going to be able to put it in the hoodie because it doesn't have enough space. So yeah, that's an area that we've been quite keen on. Yeah, so that's the loop. And how are we looking for time? Got a lot to cover off on. That's good. So a lot of the interior work that we've done, there's a whole bunch of different areas. That's right, I should try and vault through there. So yeah, we've been putting in a lot of work trying to just make the controls feel a lot better. Do a little skip here. It's always fun for all involved. Yeah, and the idea of going through the buildings and scavenging is exactly what we want to do. We've got a lot of new areas in the map that we want people to be able to go through and explore and have a look around. I don't think this one's actually configured for loot. Yeah. Oh, no, there it is. We've got some cans there and different bits and pieces. And definitely having all the vehicle wrecks and that, having loot items has been quite a compelling thing that we found as well. Yeah, I've pretty much covered it. I'll find it. Okay, so I kind of want to move on now and talk across a couple of what our sort of key points are. Yeah, maybe we could put the lights back on so you can kind of see. That's sort of all we're showing there. With the client server, so this is the delay. This is why we haven't had a chance for you to be able to play the game yet. And that is because, for those who play the mod, they'll know that the hacking and the exploiting is a real significant problem for us. So we, in order to release the alpha, we want to finish this architecture that means that everything that's done on your client is just keystrokes, and then it's sent to the server, and then the server is the arbitrator of what you can do. And that work's being done by Andres Spaniel, our lead programmer. He's kind of, I guess, the father of the whole engine. And so he has been focusing on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to lock down for the next 2 months while I'm at Everest, and they're just going to focus on that stuff. And then in June, we're going to do a review of where we're at with the game, and then we're going to see if we can actually release the alpha thing. That's the only thing we're waiting for. The crafting system, all that, it's more or less working, so it's really just the content push out from there. So that's the delay, but we kind of feel that there's no point in releasing DayZ until we do that, and that's why we missed the December deadline. Was because we realised that we couldn't just take Arma 2 or Arma 3 and make it work with DayZ. We actually needed to go right back and completely remove components of the game and redo it from scratch. So that I guess brings us to crafting and the...
radios?
Oh, radios, yeah. So radios is something we've been working on kind of in secret. I think I might have accidentally mentioned it
just slightly
a couple of times, and at the Twitch party. So with radios is something we've had one of our programmers working on. Is there anyone who's familiar with the Acre mod? ACRE from Arma, so a few Arma hipsters out there, yeah. So that's a very awesome mod for Arma that really realistically simulates radios. So what we've done is we've implemented a simplified version of that in DayZ. And are there Space Station 13 players out there? A few, yeah, there's quite a few in the back there. So they're probably causing trouble, like planting some bombs or ripping up the floor. So we took heavy inspiration from that, because we play that a lot. So in Space Station 13, you can actually turn off or on the speaker and the microphone. So what we've done in DayZ is we've made these radios so that you can turn off the speaker, place the radio on the ground, and then it will record any direct chat that someone does nearby, whether it be text or voice, and then play it through your radio. So if you turn off the speaker, they can't hear anyone talking on that radio frequency, but you can have another radio on that frequency and listen to the area. So we think it's going to allow a lot of shenanigans. Technical term. Yeah, so putting a radio in a car and then watching all the fun happen from there. We also thought as well, like bugging the areas where you might be storing all your loot with your group and that, so you can monitor. As well, if you've got a headset, you can actually craft the headset onto the radio, and that way the speaker won't broadcast noise, because at the moment if you have a radio without a headset, it will actually make the noise so that everyone can hear it around you. So this is kind of the stuff that we're working on now while we're waiting for the client-server architecture to be done. Medical is something I really wanted to talk about. Hopefully we're going all right for time. So I talked about, we went out for dinner with a few of the streamers last night, and I run through the system. It's a little bit complicated to explain without whiteboards and all that kind of stuff, so just bear with me. In DayZ, the mod, the health system is pretty basic. You have blood, and if you run out of blood, you die. And we really wanted to go a little bit more in depth, and I know a lot of people are concerned about accessibility, which is a bit of a rude word, but accessibility. We feel that adding complexity to the game doesn't necessarily mean the game becomes more difficult to play, so long as that complexity is intuitive. So we've tried to base a lot of the stuff on common sense. So we have health, which is your overall level of like your life and how you're doing. And we have blood, which is more a short-term indicator. So if you get shot, you'll take brute force damage to your health, you'll lose quite a lot of blood, and you might be bleeding, so your blood will continuously drop. So those are your two prime indicators of health. You also have shock. Are there original XCOM players out there? Man, not anywhere near enough original XCOM players. You can still buy it on Steam. There's like no excuse. I made him play it. We nearly fired him. I found out he hadn't played XCOM. It should be a requirement for new designers. So in that you had your unconscious meter, and if your unconscious meter got over your health, your guy went unconscious. And we have a similar thing with shock. So an example being, if you get hit in the head with a baseball bat and you don't have, say, something like a motorbike helmet on, you'll take quite a high shock value. So if the shock value exceeds your current blood, then you'll go unconscious. Now, the real experiment we're doing, and to be honest, there's a lot of stuff we're not sure whether it's going to work or not, but we want to try it. We're trying to not have any of this on the UI. So we want to provide feedback as to how all this is working through post-process effects and post-process sound effects as well. And, you know, I have to be honest, I don't know how it's going to go. It could be a disaster, but we really want to try it because we think that not having the UI will really add to the immersion. Yeah. And so there's the health, blood, and the shock. I guess a lot of people, you know, we had questions last night about how does it regenerate. So the idea is with blood that if your hunger and your thirst is met, if you guys can understand my accent, hackers, then your blood will regenerate. And if your hunger, thirst, and blood are okay, then your health will very slowly regenerate. And your blood will only regenerate up until your maximum health. Okay, hands up who's confused. Yeah. It is kind of confusing, and that's kind of why we don't want to put it in the UI. We're hoping that it'll actually be intuitive enough, and that's why we're really determined to get the alpha out, because we want to get people involved, early adopters, and get some feedback going on Reddit and the forums and stuff like that. So what's the next one? Food. Yes, so again, we're looking at, we don't like it how, you know, in DayZ you can eat like 1 million energy bars or energy drinks and you're totally fine, because that's certainly not the case. We tried it and we've confirmed that just eating energy drinks doesn't work. And I think Matt stayed up for about 4 days at some point, probably playing Kerbal Space Program and not doing any work. So. That's right, we pay him to play Kerbal. I've forgotten what I was talking about. Food. Yes. So the idea is that your diet will have an effect on your character. Again, all this kind of stuff, we want to keep it quite subtle because, yeah, you know, that's kind of the whole idea of DayZ. We want it to be that you can apply kind of your common sense rationale to things. I really want to rush through this so we can get to the Q&A. The other point was melee. Or melee. Which is it? Can I say both at the same time? Yeah, maybe that would work. So we're putting quite a bit of work in that. It's still we've only really got a prototype at the moment. The idea is that you're going to be able to punch and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot less weapons in the initial release. We're really going back to basics with the initial alpha, and so your reliance on melee is going to be quite high. That's pretty much all I'm going to say for melee.
But we're going back to the weapons so that we can remake them, give them new sounds, and make them as fantastic as we want them to be, rather than having volume over quality.
Yeah, and we're also the attachment system is quite a good thing. Unfortunately, our internet buggered out, so I couldn't download the latest update to show that. But we'll show that in the dev blog coming up soon. I guess the last kind of semi-important point that's really relevant right now that I wanted to touch on was the new skeleton. So, are there animators out there? So this is to you animators, so you guys will know we've been using the same skeleton for like 8 years. So think of video games 8 years ago. Well, we're using the same skeletons as them. So the skeleton is like your rig that you bind to the skin. It defines how the character moves. And we actually took a risk and we devoted some resource to making a new skeleton, and that risk is paid off, and the skeleton that's been made is really very pleasing for us. So it's going to allow us to do a lot of things. A lot of games out there, they have a separate skeletal position for your first person view, and that sounds a bit bad, but it's actually really good because it means you can make the first person view look relevant and nice, and have the third person view still look relevant and nice as well, because you can't see your shoulders and stuff in the first person view. Armour only has one position, so you can only have it look good in first person or third person. With the new skeleton, we're going to be able to make it look good and relevant in both. So you can, because you want, particularly with melee, but for all those who play chivalry and that, you really need to see where your hands are, and particularly because we're ditching the cross here, so it's kind of relevant to see where you're going to be punching. And so that new skeleton's opening up a lot of doors for us. We've got it implemented for the zombies. I turned the zombies off today because the sounds go absolutely crazy. You can ask any of the forum or Reddit mods. Actually, are there any forum or Reddit mods here? No, they didn't make it to PAX. They're too busy managing the forums, devoted, and not leaving. So those guys will tell you, yeah, the sounds were totally screwed up, so we ditched them for that. Did I miss anything on skeletons?
No, not yet.
Yeah. There's just a couple more. I just want to spend like 5 minutes now talking about our roadmap, because I guess this is probably the thing that most people want to hear. So the alpha isn't out yet, and obviously that's a bit of a disappointment for everyone, but we have to get that server client architecture done. Vehicles won't be in the initial release. The reason for that is we want to do the vehicles properly. So the mod goes back to, the standalone goes back to basics, and roughly August, September, maybe we're going to look at doing the vehicles, because we want to have it so that they don't feel like you're pushing big blocks of stone around, and we want them so that you can actually customize them, like the player. Like now you can customize the player, you can put on a hoodie, you can put on a shirt, you can run around in your underwear, which 90% of people will do for the first few days. But we'll add some kind of cold virus, so you'll all get cholera and die. Take that. There'll be no nakedness on our servers. And well, it will be for a start, and then we'll all get cholera soon. And base building. Now we had a total geek out session with the streamers last night talking about the potential for this, and we are big fans of EVE Online, really big fans. We caught up with CCP, I caught up with them at E3 and at Gamescom, and we hung out with them a lot, and they were really awesome, gave us a lot of support, a lot of advice. So we kind of think this base building is going to be like capital ships are to EVE. Base building will be our version of capital ships. We've talked about a lot of ideas. We don't think that base building above ground is going to work, because there's not enough space. So we're looking at going underground with it and having it kind of like Skyrim where it's a separate instance. And we've been toying with the idea and looking and prototyping in that of doing it like Red Faction style, digging it out and that kind of stuff and looking at how to do that. So we've got a lot of ideas with it, but that kind of stuff, we're talking end of the year. So we need to get the alpha out, and then we're committed to at least 12 months of development and beyond that, doing content brick updates every week. Now the last point, our streamers asked us to cover off on this, we talked about last night. We're big fans of the tournament style gameplay, streaming, content creation and stuff like that. So we're going to devote quite a bit of code time to seeing if we can develop like a better camera mode to support that. You'll see there's no mention of what your username is and stuff like that. So we really think that it's a big part of why DayZ was successful is because of the content creators, because of the streamers, and because of people documenting their stories. So we're really looking for a way to support that. Events like the Survivor games. We were over at my apartment watching it. I think we were actually playing Space Station 13 at the same time.
With it on the big screen?
Yeah, we had the Survivor games up on my big screen TV. It was like kind of the Super Bowl for us. It was really awesome. So the fact that they're able to do that with the mod, which is completely broken, and the only reason it's not still broken is because the communities continue developing it. And yeah, so we really want to enhance that. So I think we've rambled on enough. Are we ready, Pax Enforcers, to do some kind of Q&A? This is a really valuable time for us, so we really want to try and smash through as much stuff as we can. If we don't get time to answer it properly, I think if Pax people are okay, if we can take a few questions outside afterwards. We'll go somewhere where there's not a massive queue. I don't think we've got anything more until what party is it tonight?
The curse party.
Yeah, the curse party. So, but yeah, come up and talk to us. Like, I think sometimes people are frightened too, so. Yeah, sure. So we'll rock into it. You can ask anything. We'll all laugh and cry at any questions. I think we've got this guy in cosplay. I think he deserves a clap, right? Then we have, I believe that's the hero outfit as well, actually, the hero shirts. Excellent. Okay, fire away.
You mentioned how you're implementing the button system to bring up your gun. What else are you implementing, if at all, to attempt to prevent the kill on sight mentality that often defines the mod as it is right now?
Yeah, it's a very relevant question because it's a very important one for us. I think everybody who enjoys DayZ can see that they really, nobody wants it to be sort of a kill on sight thing. So, it's been an important thing for us. So basically what we're looking at doing is we feel that we don't actually want to force players not to be able to do it. And in fact, we're worried that this hold a button down to raise your weapon is too much. So we're actually developing two systems, and yeah, we're going to ditch one. So we would rather add more to do. And I think the combined medical problems, you get cholera, you can have, break bones, you can develop dietary problems and drug dependencies on morphine. So it's going to make being a doctor or having access to medical facilities quite important. And so we're hoping that we won't have to deal to it. I think it's like hacking. It's something we're going to have to watch constantly. And that's where we need feedback from you guys when we get you in the alpha. Is it still going to be kill on sight with all this added complexity? Or what we're kind of hoping is that the clan system becomes really crucial. But we don't want to force it. So hopefully that answers the question.
I just have a quick question on the base building system. My hero has been alive for months because I gathered my supplies and headed off into the woods and only go in town at night with night vision when no one's around.
What's over?
If I build a base on my own, how do I secure that? Can I block a door? Can I take over a house and barricade? Because I look at Wasteland where I look at things like Wasteland where you have to drive across the map grab 80 tons of sand. A single player wouldn't do that. So would barricading houses be an option for solo players?
Yeah, well, what we're looking at doing is, again, we don't want to sort of force any particular gameplay, and what I think is unique about DayZ is sometimes it gives the players challenges that the designers, that we've made, and we don't know the answer to. So I don't know how players are going to defend the underground bases. We are going to give players tools. So Armour actually has its own in-game scripting engine, and while we're ripping it out in terms of client side for normal stuff, we're looking at repurposing it for the base building so that you can build your own security systems. It's kind of like in Minecraft, you build your circuitry and stuff. Like, how fun is that? Like, I think I nearly got like charged in the army because I missed work a few times just about because I was playing Minecraft. So we're looking at doing that, and we're going to provide some tools, but I think it's going to be a real challenge, and certainly particularly for a solo player, you'll have to make sure you hide it well. So it's still very early in the design to really define that, but I guess the short answer is we're going to make the players have to figure out how to use the tools we've given them to defend it.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thanks.
Are you guys worried that the awesome things you guys are doing to make the game better in a traditional sense might strip out, sterilize some of the quirky, fun, crazy stuff that you had to do in the beginning to learn and acquire that learning curve and cross that learning curve? Do you think that, are you worried about that? And if you are you doing anything, what are you doing to work on it?
Yeah, basically. I think that's a relevant point, but we're really committed to experimenting with it. I think there's very few opportunities in the video game industry where you kind of get just try whatever you want, and that's kind of where we're at. So we're kind of exploiting that. So we're really just going to experiment, and if something doesn't work, then we try something else. So yeah, I think that's a real danger, and that's why we need to push the alpha out really quickly.
Cool, thanks.
Hello. One of my favorite parts of the game is trading. How are you going to implement trading into the game? Because right now, you put stuff into your backpack, you don't know if anyone's stealing stuff. Are you going to do a whole new menu?
Yeah, actually, our CEO, Marek Spaniel, awesome guy. He's really big on this as well. So we've decided we're going to implement a trading screen. Exactly how it looks and works, we're not sure. Probably what we're going to have is, and we've mocked up the rough design of it, is your stuff will be on one side, and then you can drag it into this shared pool. So you have your shared pool, they have their shared pool, you drag it in there. So there's still going to be an element of you could screw someone over, but it's not like they'll be able to, it's not like putting it on the ground at the moment where it's all a bit crazy. So we are going to have a screen for it because we recognise that we kind of need to have it, model the whole, I put this out in my hand and you give it to me with this hand, and we very quickly swap it and then try and beat each other with our rifles.
Second question. Can I trade you a can of beans for your autograph and a picture after this?
Sure, yeah, no problem. I can autograph that.
Hi, how's it going? I just want to say that I put over 300 hours in this mod, some of the best and worst times in playing video games ever. And I think me and everyone else in this room really just wants to know a question that has been on everyone's mind is, who is shooting in Cherno?
That is true. I don't know, I want to see the guy as well.
All of the people. We've all done it at some time.
Yeah.
You'll be able to find out because you'll be able to place a radio and you'll be able to...
Yeah. Alright, well, my real question is, one thing that we were into with the mod, with the server hopping and stuff being a serious issue and jumping around, and, what do you guys plan to do about server hopping or server infrastructure, or have you thought about that yet or anything?
Yeah, another relevant question, one the streamers brought up with us last night. And so we're looking at dealing to it, similar ways to World of Warcraft and that. There was a really good suggestion thread on Reddit, and I've got that bookmarked, and pretty much when we come to it, we're going to deal to that. We haven't looked at it at the moment because we need to tidy up the server client thing first. Because, and I guess that architecture makes it very easy for us to deal to stuff. We prototyped a system to use with the mod, but we found it kind of went Skynet on us and started going crazy, so we didn't implement it with mod. Where the central server is able to detect if you're server hopping, and it issues you a warning and says, okay, you have been hopping through servers. If you do it again, we're going to lock you out for 5 minutes and that kind of stuff. But I think the strongest thing we can do is keep the player's body alive for 10 or 20 seconds. I think, you know, we had the idea come out last night that we were given by the streamers, so that we have it so that you start off on the ground asleep and you have to get up, play an animation and get up off the ground. So you're going to be vulnerable for that first time. It actually solved a problem we have at the moment where the server creates your avatar, tells you you're in it, and then there's a delay while your game loads, like 10 seconds or so. And so we're like, oh, what happens because you're getting shot? Now we can explain away that and call it a feature because you can. Please don't tell anyone that, guys.
Great, thank you very much.
Just between us.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to say thank you for creating probably the most intense emotional experience I could ever find in a game. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks.
My question is, my favorite part of the game is about that 1 to 5 seconds where you see somebody. You look at them, they look at you, and you're like, do they see me? Yes, they do. And after they see you, are they going to kill me? No, they're not. And then you either have a friend or you have an enemy. So I'm wondering, you showed us where you could either have your gun down for the most part, and then if you want to shoot someone, you bring it up, and then that's kind of a cue. What if you don't see the person? Say they're behind you, and are you going to have any sort of kind of like direct communication, but more like a whisper, where say if you're really close to them, you would hear them, but if someone is 2 meters away, they don't? Have you guys thought of a closer direct chat? To kind
Yeah,
of
well, there was something that came out with in Reddit, and I think the forums as well. And so what we've looked at doing, so as our programmer Bevel's been going through and writing this radio, he's also identified that one of our options is to create 2 forms of direct chat. So there is kind of a whisper direct chat that's very much just sort of 5 meters or so. We haven't confirmed it for this stage because it's reasonably low priority in terms of where we're at right now, but it's definitely on the design schedule. Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, now when you have a gun and you have the magazine clips for it, you get down to 1 bullet left, and then you have like a thing with 7 bullets. Are you going to be able to put the 1 bullet with the one that has 7 bullets? Because that gets really, really annoying.
Yeah. So one of the advantages of what we've done is we ripped out the whole inventory system. So the whole way that ammunition works, if there's any armor modders out there, they'll know that weapons are recorded as strings and armor. In DayZ, they're objects. So we can do all sorts of crazy things with it, not just, recording the fingerprints, recording whether it's got collar on it and all that kind of stuff. So we can also have it, so we're having it that magazines are actually an entity. So you actually take ammunition and you put it in your magazine. So you can fill up a magazine. So if you've only got 1 magazine and 3,000 bullets, after you've emptied that magazine, you're actually going to need to put more bullets in it, so it's going to delay you. So finding magazines is going to be quite important, and one of the actions we've added to magazine is to strip out the bullets from it. So if you've got one round in that, you can pull it out and put it back in your pile of ammunition.
Alright, thank you.
Hey. G'day.
So I found my biggest dilemma in the game is after I've gotten my AS-50 and my night vision and everything, completely legit, but what are you doing to make it so at the end game, how to change the mentality from just going to the shore with your car or whatever and just running over new people, rather than, instead of that, besides the underground bases and everything, is there anything you're going to implement in order to still have fun with the game without ruining other people's times?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting experience we faced with Space Station 13 as well. We get a lot of inspiration from other games. We play a lot of games with the streamers and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So it's like, how do you balance that griefing versus the need for, people call it PvP, but I think it's something a bit beyond that. It's the threat of PvP. And how do we balance that? So the only thing we've really confirmed so far is we want to add in more stuff to do. And I think the requirement for social interaction is going to be much higher in the standalone. And the mod, you only really need someone to do a blood transfusion. We've totally revised the way blood transfusion work. We're looking at, and I'm hesitant to talk about it because if I say skills, everyone's just going to lock on to skills. But we don't want to have skills as in how people think of them, you earn XP and you spend the XP. We want to have it that if you practice an advanced mechanic, that you get better at that advanced mechanic. So that gives, he's happy, we made someone else. So, because we want to emphasize certain social interactions. So, geez, I could talk about this for a long time, but like, you know, so that some people can become doctors or advanced mechanics in that. We talked about it for ages with the streamers last night, for like about an hour or something. So, I guess the short answer is, I think you're exactly right. There's a lot we need to do. It's not going to be there in the alpha. And I think we need to manage people's expectations there. We have to get the alpha out soon so we confirm that the controls aren't cracked and that everything doesn't crash too often. And then we'll get to the end game stuff. But we've got 12 months from the first day we do the alpha of Minecraft style development. So I think we'll get there.
Cool, thanks. I'm excited.
Thanks.
How you doing? I got a couple of questions. First one is kind of problem/benefit. A lot of times the servers get kind of saturated with a lot of the high power weapons. I know private Hive servers have heli crash sites spawn every 4 hours, and it kind of like takes away kind of the fun of having that kind of Hunger Games cornucopia feel where everyone's kind of starting off basic, like that first round of Counter-Strike when everyone only has pistols. Instead, it's like you spawn in a new server and everyone's got the high-powered stuff. I was wondering, are you going to try to mess with the probabilities, make it that those type of weaponry wear out faster with the weather, make it a lot harder to reach? I was wondering what you guys were thinking about doing with stuff.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of dealing with that on multiple fronts. On the one hand, DayZ is going to go right back to its roots because we have to get those right first. So it's not going to be about advanced weaponry. The only advanced weapons that are going to be in is the ones with attachments. So we're doing the M4 because anyone familiar with the M4 will know it has a heck of a lot of attachments. Like you're going to be able to change the everything.
It's like Barbie, but for men.
Yes. Barbie, thanks, man. So we're changing the butt stock and different kinds of magazines and scopes and stuff like that. So, but they're going to be exceptionally hard to find. So really, even finding a pistol is going to be difficult. So I think that deals with it. A lot of people, quite relevantly, I think someone like totally nailed me on Reddit or somewhere, or on some comment somewhere saying, how dare I come from modding and then we disable modding. But we have to because we've got to deal with the hackers. So we want to bring modding in later, but for a start, we've just got to say, okay, we've dealt with the hacking problem, and then we go, cool, right, now we can go to the modders. And I like to think we're trying to stay quite close to the modders, and I think that, there was a really good thread on Reddit that talked about, how DayZ's taking too long, and the DayZ mod has gone way off in this crazy direction. But I think both those things are good, particularly the mod going and doing all this other stuff, because that way we've explored some of the things we don't want to do. We know what those are now, so we can avoid them. So I don't think that's going to be a problem in the standalone. I think that definitely for a start, it's going to be really grim, way more like the road than the book and the movie than the mod. Way more like that.
My next question was along the line of the difficulty, because right now zombies, once you learn the game, really aren't a factor. And I wanted to know, are you guys gonna, a lot of us watch The Walking Dead and stuff like that, and there's hordes that just kind of rove around. If you're running through the woods, right now you think you're good to go, unless you ran into a random outhouse and there's 2 zombies blasting whatever. I want to know if you're running through the woods and all of a sudden you run into a pack of 50, and if one sees you and starts making noise, it alerts the other one, so now you have to deal with an actual threat, because it is DayZ.
Yep.
And I feel like the zombies were only a factor when, like the first time I played, and then after that you learn, I just crouch in a pine tree and I can't touch it.
Yeah, there's some good cartoons on YouTube about that. Yeah, so I totally know where you're coming from. And I don't think, we need to manage people's expectations. The zombies are not going to be anywhere near perfect when the alpha comes out. Something we're quite concerned about is the way AI works inside the buildings is using a path log. So they're kind of on rails when they're going around inside a building. We want to remove that and have the zombies do something much more organic, but we don't want to delay the alpha to do that. So zombies are like hacking. They're going to be an ongoing thing, but we've done a lot of work on the zombie AI pathfinding, and having the zombies controlled by the server means we don't have to despawn them. So it means we can have roving zombies, the zombies will get your scent and follow you for miles and stuff like that. So I think we'll deal with that one.
And just a quick question on the pace of play. I'm a big fan, I know a lot of people aren't, about, it takes time to crouch, takes time to go prone, it takes time to put stuff in your backpack. Because, I do a lot of hiking, a lot of long hunts, I do a lot of paintballing. It does take time to crouch, it takes energy, you get tired. Taking your bow or your rifle out of your bag to just break camp and go off and hunt for turkey or something, that takes time. And I'm a fan of the slower kind of inventory, even though it sucks when you delete a gun or whatever by accident.
Yeah, like I definitely see your point.
I feel like a lot of games like Call of Duty, it gets way away from that, which is, it's like, oh bang, I'm crouch. It's not like that. We don't have like thunder thighs. We can't do
I think we need a balance between the two. We've got to find that sweet spot. Like I think DayZ, based on armor, was too far in the other direction. Who was it who did the review that was really funny? You said it was like, armor was kind of like walking around with a washing machine strapped to your back, really janky. Yeah, no, it wasn't Simple Bread, it was someone else. It was Escapist. Zero punctuation, yeah. Like, I think you really nailed it with that comment. Like, so we like to think we've dealt with that. We need to introduce some delay. So for example, off that quick bar, if you select something from your backpack, you crouch down and it takes much longer for you to get it. But if you take something out of your pockets, it's quite quick. So again, I think that's something we're going to have to go along. But
alright, thanks guys.
Thanks.
Hey guys.
Hey.
I just have a quick question and a suggestion.
Yep.
So my question is about the melee system and shock system. So say I have a baseball bat and sneak up behind someone, can I knock him out and then beat the shit out of him?
You sure can, you sick bastard. Yeah, so we're looking at like this. I'm going to say stealth bonus, but that sounds a bit gamey. But basically, yeah, that's the whole reason. Like my favorite item in game is the motorbike helmet. I don't know why. It's just coolest.
Alright, so my suggestion is, have you guys thought about maybe adding like a drag body feature so we could like hide bodies?
Yeah, I don't know whether that's going to make it into the alpha, because it just requires a lot of animation synchronization.
Okay.
Like on the initial release. It's the kind of thing that we're going to look at once we push it out. We're really conscious that we need to get people, the early adopters, playing it to make sure we're not heading in the right direction. But we definitely want to add that kind of interaction. But I think it'll be a bit later on.
Sweet, thanks for making your game.
Thanks. Thanks for beating people with a baseball bat.
So, I know the game is really based around like surviving in the environment, and like the zombies is kind of just like a part of that survival mode. And so, I know that like in the game, animals are kind of just like these things that just stand there, and they're just a resource for food. What about if animals become a threat also? Have you thought about that? Like,
yeah, we really want to do that. I'm going to rush through these questions because I want to try and get these guys done. So basically, the problem we have is trying to synchronize the animation. We're using our own animation system. We'd love to use Euphoria, but it's like $1 million, and you've got to give them like your 3 children. And maybe we could use that guy with the baseball bat. I don't know. Kidnap some. And I'm totally not going to be able to leave the country now. So yeah, you know, we want to do that. It's something we're going to look at a bit. The hunting element is going to be expanded a lot more, and we want to kind of have like dogs and stuff being a bit more of a threat. But it's a lot more work than we expected, because you've got to get the dog synchronizing, otherwise it looks like the dog is attacking an invisible person. So yeah, it's a yes, but it's going to require quite a bit of work for us.
Thank you. I just want to say, I've been keeping my eyes up on the news, and I'm glad to see Bohemia got Ivan and Martin back.
Yeah, we're very glad.
Great news for that. The question I had is, I know there's been some talk on the forums about heat maps and who's going where, when they're going there. I know from having a helicopter, AS-50, all that stuff. The only places I wanted to go to was Northwest Airfield, looking for helicopters, maybe Starry sometimes. And it kept me from going to a lot of the area of the map. I didn't see that stuff. So as you guys get the inventory system worked up, and what's spawning where for loot, making sure that, are you guys looking to make sure that people have reason to go to these other areas, and, basically, what's
exactly.
going where?
Look, that's a good point. So basically, every building and every rig and the whole map spawns items. I think it's nearly 120,000 items in total can potentially spawn. So what we're going to do is, because everything can spawn something, we lower the percentage right down. So it means that, particularly, I didn't get a chance to show it, but I think you can kind of see it in the really crappy production value dev blog, of those big apartment buildings that we've added near Cherno. So you're going to be able to go inside all those. They're going to be really derelict, but you can search for stuff. So scavenging is going to become crucial. Ivan is actually kind of our creative consultant, and he's overseeing the addition of massive new areas to the map, like prisons and northern airfield. The whole northern sector of the map is getting an overhaul.
My home.
Southwest, yeah. But there's a lot of just forest there that's kind of useless, so they're redoing that. And we're also getting a new satellite data to add much more high fidelity textures and stuff. So we're really expanding that area. So cool.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So you said that you wanted to increase or boost the clan system. So are you going to add any kind of grouping system where you can spawn on your friends, or at least know where they are, or anything like that?
Yeah, we've thought about it, but we need to sort of think about it a bit more. We're a bit worried about removing the whole dynamic of you having these adventures when you try and find the other person. So it's something we're going to look at beyond Alpha. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a tech question. Okay, so Arma 3 just came out, and it's obviously being worked alongside DayZ Standalone. What are some of the biggest features from the Arma 3 engine that you're going to be putting in the DayZ Standalone?
We'd love to have underwater. We'd love to have underwater. Our night looks terrible in DayZ at the moment. Just awful. Like, your eyes would bleed if we showed you it. It's because we've played with the daytime shaders and then totally forgot about the night. So, oops, sorry. And night's kind of important for DayZ. So we've got a lot of work to do there. We've learned a lot from the Arma 3 team in terms of controls, and that's where we kidnapped some of their members and forced them to work on our control system. Well, there's a bunch of stuff. I'll try and, I unfortunately we need to do this last guy, and so I'll try and post that on Reddit or something, and I'll read it.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Quick question. Since you're going to be focusing a lot more on melee, are you going to be able to, say, hit someone with the butt of your gun or have a fist fight with someone or grapple someone?
Yeah, so we've got the prototype for a fist working team, but we were thinking of having it so that if you push your trigger button when you're close to someone and you've got a rifle, that you'll bash them. We're just a bit worried about the whole G for a grenade issue with Arma 2. You know, you're close to someone, you accidentally push the left mouse button and you smash your buddy with the butt of your rifle. So there's some issues to resolve with it, but yes, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause to DayZ.